All right, we're live. Good morning, everyone. So I got Frank and James here from Stellar Housing, and I got Trade Better 99 here, Harrison. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, so let's
Good morning.
maybe our main topic, since Stellar Housing is midterm rental kind of specialist in this area. So that's why I brought them on. That's kind of a popular strategy going on right now. So what can you guys tell us about, midterm rentals? Just basically what it is.
Well, the easiest way to explain what midterm rentals are, I usually kind of go with what people are familiar with already. So I say, think about Airbnb, but minimum 1 month stay. And so it's going to be furnished rentals. You get a lot of hospitality along with it. And so we get a very wide range of people that need this type of housing. But long story short, furnished rentals, minimum 1 month stay, usually less than a year. Although we have some tenants that actually stay longer than a year too at the midterm rental rents.
Awesome. That's a great quick explanation. What would be maybe, so let's kind of dig into, I think, maybe misconceptions or kind of myths about midterm rentals compared to short-term rentals, long-term rentals. Yeah.
I think one of the myths is that it's only travel nurses that are looking for midterm rentals. And in actuality, it's a whole bunch of people. It's anybody traveling for work, people going through a divorce and still want to be close to their kids, people renovating their homes, people who are looking for a home in that area. So you have a whole bunch of people that actually need this kind of housing.
Wow. What would you find as the largest demographic that you've been working with so far?
Travel medical is probably the largest, but it's maybe half of what we get. And the rest are digital nomads or the divorced people or the renovation people or the looking for house people.
We get a lot of people also that are transitioning in between housing too. So let's say if they just sold their home and they're buying their next one. Let's say if you just sold a home and you're buying the next one and you're renovating it first, you need to stay somewhere temporarily. So we have those people. And when we have those type of tenants, we tell them, hey, we do a lot of renovations of our own properties. We've got our contractors, we have our own team. If you need any type of recommendations for materials, vendors, anything, we can provide all that too. So we're just giving them more service that they don't even expect because of what our experiences are. And then we also get a lot of people. So, like, let's say in between rentals or even relocating, we've even had people that traveled from India or Canada, like outside of the country too. And it's really, really hard for those people to find housing because most landlords are like, oh my God, you're from another country. I can't even do a background check on you, right?
Yeah.
But we have experience with them and we understand on their end how difficult it is to find housing. So we kind of tend to get those midterm rental tenants as well. And of course, interns, medical residents, whole bunch contract workers, corporate, whole bunch of people.
Wow, that's amazing.
I love it. Before we dig into this next question, what, I guess, market are you guys in? Are you guys all over the country? Or are you guys in a specific market?
Northern New Jersey,
All
so
right.
far,
Okay.
just there.
So let's see. Is it more profitable than short-term rentals? Because I think a lot of people probably think short-term rentals are a lot more profitable.
Short-term rentals can certainly be more profitable. Midterm rentals are easier and I think less risky because of the nature of a midterm rental guest versus an STR guest.
I
And
Yeah, I
think
think
STR
we.
is certainly more profitable than LTR.
Hmm. Yeah, why don't you dig into that? Because I think we dug into that as far as like the tenants or the guests, I guess you would say, being less risky.
The midterm rental guest comes for a reason, and when that reason is completed, they have someplace else to go.
That
So if they're
makes
there
sense.
for work, when the work is done, they have another assignment somewhere else they go back to, or they go back to their real home. If they're travel medical, They go off to another assignment. If they're there transitioning between houses, then their new house is ready. So everyone has a reason to leave. So you're not so worried about people. Like you don't have the eviction
Yeah.
worries that you might have with a long-term guest,
Right.
a long-term tenant, or an STR guest that just kind of overstays their welcome or throws big parties.
we
That's a
actually
great point.
have we actually have like friends or other people who have had such horrific experience with their long-term tenants. I know someone who had to do 2 evictions in 1 year, or people that haven't been able to collect rent for 2 years, something crazy. Because in New Jersey, it's a tenant-friendly state. New York is also the same too. We have a lot of friends in New York where they just kind of get pummeled, and there's professional tenants and everything stuff. So when we tell them that that's the reason why we do midterm rentals, they're like, I can't believe that. And the reason is exactly what Frank mentioned. They're going home, they're going somewhere else after their stay. As soon as their move out date comes, they're out. They're not staying another day, because then they have to pay. So it's kind of like when you're at a hotel, if you have to stay another night, it's like, I'm out. So I think a lot of people, the main question that we actually do get is, oh, aren't you afraid of people squatting in evictions? And even in the short-term rental space, you really, really don't see that. That is extremely rare. But that's the negative stuff is what comes up on the news, right? And so people think, oh, short-term, midterm, you're going to get squatters. But in reality is, no, that's a way higher chance in the long-term space. If your long-term tenant loses their job or something happens, can they pay rent? For a lot of our midterm rental tenants, their job is paying for their midterm rent or anything like that stuff. So it's a completely different scenario.
Wow. Would you say that they commute to New York usually, since you're in Northern Jersey area? Is that more of your clientele? Or are they just working in the Northern New Jersey area?
I would say for most of them, they're not working in New York City. If we used to have a midterm rental that was very in New Jersey, but very close to New York City, and a lot of those potential inquiries that would come in, they would always ask, how close is it to New York City? Is it easy to get to New York City? Because they're going to go in for work or for whatever reason. Um, but midterm rentals kind of work in a lot of different areas. Even though we are 20 minutes from New York City, we get plenty of people that don't really care that New York City is that close. It's wonderful though that they get like such easy access though. So we can kind of tap into different, like our tenant pool is wider, like the funnel is wider because of like proximity and location.
Cool. Before, if we don't get to all your questions, I also did put Stellar Housing Solutions and James and Frank's contact inside the beginning of the chat. So go check them out, go follow, subscribe. But we also have Troy Roberts here who has a question. He says, hey guys, I have a STR that is transitioning out of tourist season. How are you marketing your midterm rentals? We put it on Furnish Finder last year, but didn't have a great amount of success with it.
The bulk of our marketing is Airbnb and Furnish Finder. So I would look at your listing, make sure your listing is really good quality, your pictures are really good, your amenities are good. Like everything about your description has to be top notch. And also, especially with Furnish Finder, go after unmatched leads. Make sure you respond quickly to any inquiry that comes in, because too many people, like if you're looking for housing, you're probably hitting up 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 listings at once. So you want to reply quickly so you're top of mind for that guest.
I think also with if you're people that are doing short-term rentals, and we have some friends that do primarily short-term rentals, and during their slow season, they want to get a midterm rental in so that their year-end performance is, still good. I think you also have to cater to those people too. So you can change your listing description a little bit to say, welcome those who are traveling medical professionals relocating to the area, contract workers, corporate, digital nomads, all that stuff, so that they will see that in your listing description. You could also change your headline, your listing title, to put some of those keywords so you get a little bit more exposure. At the same time, in the midterm rental space is very different from the short term, because in the short term, you're just messing with your pricing, dynamic pricing settings here and there, so that people are coming to you, they're booking to you. You're not chasing after anybody. But in the midterm rental space, there is more work that needs to be done, and you kind of have to be the active person reaching out to furnish finder leads, like Frank said. You may also have to contact the local university, HR at the hospital, different corporations that are around there, or even construction workers, all these other people who need midterm rental housing, that you're the better alternative and cheaper alternative than a hotel or even an extended stay hotel, where they give you 2 plates, 1 spoon, 1 cup, whatever. And sometimes you have to pay for silverware too, actually, at these extended stay hotels. And you're paying so much money for terrible quality, and you're there for at least like a month, 2 months, right? And so you're already the better alternative in quality and price. You just have to go out and kind of find them. So it does take more work, and you're not just sitting on your butt waiting for everything to come in and people to come knocking on your door. And I think that's where the difference is with a lot of people, where they're used to the short-term rental game, where people are coming to them and they kind of put their stuff on Furnish Finder or whatever. They don't exactly do market analysis to know what should I be priced at in terms of as a midterm rental, and they don't really get anything because they're not doing things the right way or taking action.
Cool. So we
Do
also
you-
got Janitor on Fire here. So I want to say what's up to Daryl. Go check out his YouTube channel in the comments. Postal Nerds. I love his channel. Always showing different post office. But you dig into your question real quick, Harrison. I'll put the next one up after.
Yeah, sure. I want to follow up. So, because you have different professions and everything, and since you're going to the customer now, would you say that you furnish maybe different properties for different professions, like extra screens for digital nomads, or maybe an extra comfy bed for a nurse or something like that?
Generally, no. We furnish to try to have everything people are going to need for a long stay. If somebody's coming in and they have a baby, we'll put in extra things or do extra childproofing, things like that. If they have pets, we'll do certain things. Also, being pet friendly is a really good help for that, to answer that other question. Out the off season, and go switch an MTR, make sure you're pet friendly, because that greatly increases your pool of prospects.
I think also in terms of how we're furnishing and setting up too, all of our midterm rentals have certain things that are just like standard across the board. So we always have like a workstation. So we always have high speed internet, right? But we also have workstations with like a comfortable chair. Some of our units, we do have that extra monitor as well for those who are working from home. In the bedrooms, we always have blackout curtains, noise machines, and also earplugs too, because we have people that work overnights and they're sleeping during the day. And so whatever additional sleep assistance we can provide, we're doing all these things like as part of standard. And I think because we always do these things, it seems normal for us, but we're also realizing it's not normal for everyone else, especially if they're in a short-term rental game or not familiar with like midterm. But yeah, to answer your question, there are certain things that we do to kind of cater toward the different needs of a lot of people. And it's just kind of standard in all of our midterm rentals.
Sounds great.
Yeah, great answer. We've got Troy here with another question. He says, how do you analyze pricing on your midterm rentals? I've heard 500 to 800 over rentals of equal size at our long-term rentals.
So every single market is very, very, very extremely different from the next. And if you go into any of the midterm rental Facebook groups or any other forums where they're talking about how much rent I'm getting, it's drastically, drastically different. And I think that's where most of the confusion is, because pricing and being able to analyze is something that is extremely important for your business, right? The easiest thing that I usually tell people is you need to, number one, if you go on Furnish Finder, typically those are the people that are using Furnish Finder usually are trying to look for a little bit more of like a discount. And as such, the prices tend to be a little bit lower too when landlords are listing their rentals on Furnish Finder. And you have to do what some people in the short-term rental space call the enemy method, where you're looking at your competitors, quote unquote, and seeing exactly, all right, what are the amenities that they have? What are the amenities that I have? Are they pet friendly? Do they have in-unit laundry, laundry on premises, no laundry? There's a ton of midterm rentals that don't even provide laundry. Parking. Is there parking? How many spaces do you have to pay for parking? Where we are, it's a densely populated area, and there's a lot of listings that don't provide laundry. Definitely a lot of listings that are not pet friendly, and also a lot of listings that don't even provide parking. And so you have to do like an apples to apples comparison. And what I do is I make a chart of, this is the first rental, what's their pets parking laundry situation, and how much is the rent. So you kind of make a chart and just compare, and also look at the locations, the quality, the pictures. There are some listings on Furnish Finder where they have like literally 3 sentences. That's the entire listing description. It's pretty bad. Or like half the pictures are blurry. It's dark. The quality is very, very low on Furnish Finder and stuff. So if you know that you could do better than them with your listings are better, you have either the same type of amenities or better, and you can see what their price is, you'll have a better understanding of what you can charge. Now, in the short-term rental space, you have Price Labs, AirDNA, Mashvisor, all these different tools to say what you can potentially make. In the midterm rental space, there are certain programs that kind of do something similar, but they all don't work. They don't work because in the midterm rental space, there's direct booking. You're getting bookings from Furnish Finder, Airbnb, VRBO, Facebook groups, like contracts and stuff. So there's no way for any one software to know how much a landlord just signed a lease for, because that's all private information, right? But on Furnish Finder, there's something in the listing where it'll say the next available date, right? And so what I do is I track them. I favorite every single one of them. And over time, I'll say, all right, this 1 bedroom is $2,500 a month. Let me just wait a little bit and see if their availability date kicks out into the future. Typically, that means that they were able to get that booking for that price, especially if they only have 1, maybe 2 listings, and they're not doing it at scale and adjusting their prices, which is most of the Furnish Finder landlords. You can semi-confidently say that they were able to get that booking at that price. So you have to kind of track them over time. And that also just gives you more confidence into, all right, that's how that unit is performing and how does it compare to mine? And so let me try to price accordingly. And then if you also wanted to use Airbnb, there's a way short-term rentals and midterm rentals in your area based off of Airbnb. And the way that you would do that is you would do a search from a date into the future. So right now it's August, right? If you do a search from October 1st to January 1st, right? Like multi-length stay, it's going to do 2 things as if you're like the Airbnb guest, right? It's going to eliminate most of the short-term rentals that are out there when in your search results. Because if you're a short-term rental, you always have like these random 1, 2, 3 night bookings out into the future. And on Airbnb, if you do search for 2 or 3 months into the future, any short-term rental that has those random stays automatically get eliminated. And so that's how you eliminate all the short-term rentals. And whatever you're left with are those who have just that are midterm rentals only. So that's how you find your competitors and your pricing and see how much they're charging. And you kind of just compare for yourself.
Wow. Would you say that there are any amenities in your properties that win out more than others? It's like saying, hey, we have a Keurig, or hey, we have blackout curtains. Is there something that you see that people usually ask a lot for?
My top 3: pets, parking, laundry.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
parking
that's
lot.
right.
Beautiful. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
like that.
it's actually in our listing description too. We'll say like Bloomfield 1 bedroom, pets parking laundry. Sometimes a little bit more detailed, like in-unit laundry or pets okay, fenced in yard. If we can, add a little bit more details if there's enough room.
Well, don't go too in
Yeah.
depth. They can check out the interview on about what
That's true.
pets
That's
parking
true.
and laundry. They can go check the interview we did and find out about that. But no, yeah, I love that. I forgot all about that actually though. But we also got firefighter Ike Hobbs here. Thanks for stopping by. We got Radeon Landlord Odyssey, another good channel. Go check him out. His channel's in the comments. And Hugo from Stay Winnings here. He's back on X. He made it back on finally after getting suspended. So welcome back. Go check out his YouTube channel, his podcast also. But Janitor on Fire, sometimes I don't know if he's making trouble or what, but he does have good questions every once in a while. So he does ask, other than traveling nurses, what is the next best job demographic to market to?
I'd probably say finding contract workers or actually there is no next best. There's just a whole bunch out there. um, we've had success doing a little bit of corporate where HR is the one that's paying for their employee who's here on a contract on a job assignment, and they'll say, um, like we just tell them, hey, this is our price. Okay, here's the lease. Okay, that's it. So you can kind of upcharge, and they know they're okay with that. So you can actually make more money there. There's also, we're not so heavily in that space, but there's also insurance relocation, where let's say if you're a homeowner in a primary home, and you have some type of fire, flood, natural disaster that makes your home inhabitable, then your insurance company, you have an homeowner's insurance policy that will pay for relocation and things like that. And we have a lot of friends in the area where across the country who kind of focus on that. And sometimes the payday for the landlords on that end can be quite high. Um, it's just something that you can't always rely on and target because you can't assume that everyone around you is going to start losing their homes. Yeah, there's a lot of different um, demographics. It all depends on your area. Some markets, we have friends that they have a lot of construction going on, or like an Amazon warehouse that's being built, or a Tesla warehouse, or our friends that are in Vegas with the World Series of Poker. They became the preferred housing vendor for all the World Series of Poker employees. And with us in 2026, yeah, I believe we have the World Cup finals coming, literally just 20 minutes from 12 or 13 of our midterm rentals. And so I know Frank is especially going to try to work on housing, not necessarily the fans, but we want all the workers who are here way before and try to house them too.
Yeah, I figure they're going to behave better than the fans might. And they'll stay for longer.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. This is right up your guys' alley, I think, because you guys, I on our interview, you guys talked about this quite a bit. Here it is. Are midterm rentals looking for a personalized experience?
They are looking for hospitality for sure. It's not so much of like an Instagram experience like an STR might be. It's comfortable, safe housing. And you want them to feel like they're at home the second they walk in the door. So it's not so much that you have to have the area that they're going to post, like they're going to pose in front of and do the Instagram thing. You don't need that really. You don't need that super cool looking couch. You want a comfortable couch that looks good. So it's more functional and still designed well, of course, but it's got to be functional for them.
But you guys go above and beyond, right? As far as welcoming them.
We certainly try to. Unreasonable Hospitality, that is one of our favorite books. And that sort of inspired how we try to treat our guests.
And how do you guys go about that? Because I know you guys talked about like even like a personalized note or
Even before they get there, it's part of our communications, our video tours, everything, so that they can feel comfortable with the property before they've even entered the property. So when they arrive, they already feel comfortable knowing where they're going to park, where the front door is, how they're going to get the key, how they enter the codes. Everything is given to them in advance, so they're going to be comfortable. And then once they get in, yes, they have a personal note. We have welcome gifts. If they have pets, the pet gets a note and welcome gifts too. If they have kids, the kids get the welcome gifts also. There's snacks. So we try to make them immediately feel very comfortable.
all right, here is the other, probably the biggest question a lot of people will have. So Troy again says, we don't currently allow pets because my wife is very concerned about the furniture being damaged in the space. It's a very trendy boho themed space. Should we cater to pet friendly guests?
Do you allow kids in that space? Because in our experience, kids are more damaging than most pets have been.
Oh, wow.
I think that's always the conundrum that a lot of landlords have, because they know that pets can cause a lot of damage, right? That's also one of the reasons why we perform well, because we are pet friendly. I think about at least almost half the midterm rental tenants that are out there have pets. They travel with their pets. A pet, if you have one, is kind of like an extension of your family. Sometimes, people call them kids, and you really, really take care of them. So if you have to travel as a guest for months at a time, you want to bring your pets too. And as such, most of these guests with pets, they know that they're in a rented space. They know they're in a furnished home. They know they're going to have to be responsible for damages if their pets, you know, damage anything. So they take care of the units better too. Yeah, you're going to have to do deep cleaning and get some of like the pet hair and pet dander off, but that's why you have a cleaner anyways, right? And so if you have about this is like a legit scenario. Let's say if you have half the tenants who are looking for housing that have a pet, and only maybe 30% of listings about like 30% of listings that are pet friendly, supply and demand is very favorable in terms of the units that allow pets. Now, let's say if you're a midterm rental tenant looking for a house in 2 weeks from now, right? Most midterm rental guests will start looking 2 to 3 weeks before like they need to move in. We have a whole bunch of midterm rentals. If you wanted to book with us in the next 2 weeks, you can't. We're all occupied. We're all pet friendly. So we're part of the 30% of listings that are pet friendly. We're not even bookable. We're not available for your dates. So in reality, the supply is even worse because they need stay for a particular start date, and most of the pet friendly places go like hotcakes. So what's left over? Even nothing and stuff. So we're able to price ourselves higher. If it's booked through Furnish Finder or anywhere outside of Airbnb, we're doing non-refundable pet fees. We're doing pet rent per pet. We're making extra money. But also, as part of our questionnaire before they book, we tell them you're going to have to put a couch cover. You're going to have to put a waterproof mat on the floor if they're going to be using the bathroom on the floor. We ask them a bunch of questions about their pets. Are they vaccinated? If no one's home, are you going to have a sitter? What are their barking tendencies? Do they travel well? So you get a good idea if the pet is good or not. And when they give you answers, you can tell, oh yeah, this person's going to take care of the place. And if it's if it's a inquiry on Furnish Finder or outside of Airbnb, we also get landlord referrals. So we call the previous landlords and say, hey, did that person have a pet? How many pets, like did they leave the place clean? And there's a lot of due diligence that you can do to make sure that you're getting the right type of person in. And then afterwards, you're putting a little bit more responsibility on them, because now you have to cover the things, and we need you to say, yes, I will put a couch cover or whatever. And then if there is any damage, we're getting a security deposit, right? So we can deduct from the security deposit if we have to. And then there's also different programs and software out there. Well, things out there like damage waivers, so that let's say if Airbnb doesn't cover something, there's other companies that will pay you for any random like damage and stuff too. So there's multiple options in that case.
And from Troy, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but he says, what typically do you charge for a pet deposit for a 1 to 3 month stay?
So, Frank, you want to go answer that?
You could do that one. I have another one to go to.
Okay. So what we do is we charge a $250 one-time pet fee. We charge $50 per pet per month. So if you have 2 cats or 2 dogs, that's automatically $100 per month as pet rent. And then initially we get that extra $250 non-refundable pet fee. That's not part of the security deposit at all. And that is also what helps to cover the additional deep cleaning that needs to happen once they've moved on later on, because their cleaners are going to charge us more. Well, we're not going to pay for that. We're gonna have the non-refundable pet fee, $250 to do that. Now that's like some people don't collect that. Some people will do $100, $200. Some people will do $300, $400. It really depends on your market, supply and demand, and people will pay more for their pets. So it's something that you can definitely do.
And also make sure you have, I mean, you should do this anyway. Make sure you have waterproof mattress covers on all your bedding. We've had lately a few occasions where a guest took those mattress protectors off and then soiled the mattresses. So now we've added it to our leases and our house rules that if you take those things off and something happens to the mattress, you will be charged the replacement cost of the mattress. So whether it's pets, kids, or adults, it's really important to make sure those things are there and on. And I think Troy also said they usually don't get kids. So in that case, you really look at your decor. If there's going to be a dog in the apartment and the dog's like golden retriever kind of thing with the wagging tail, make sure you don't have fragile decor at that height that's going to get knocked over when the dog is running around all happy. You don't want skinny glass vases on low things that get knocked over easily. So it's really a matter of, is your decor pet child resistant? And for midterm rental, you don't really want things that are super fragile in places where people are going to, like, in the main part of the living space. If it's up on a shelf, great. But if it's on like the TV console or the coffee table or something, you don't really want anything fragile there.
And even going back to the furniture too, and especially the couch, there's like pet friendly furniture that could be leather. It's extremely expensive, but you don't have to spend so much money on even that. You can just get something that's faux leather instead. You don't want anything that's like made out of cotton or something that's going to, like a cat's claw is going to get stuck on it or anything. We usually recommend getting faux leather couches and chairs too, like if you have like side chairs, because they're easier to clean, easier to wipe, and they're a little bit more plush, a little bit more firm, so they can be a little bit more durable. And as long as they're still very comfortable, that's actually the direction that we go, where the faux leather couches are a little bit more pet resistant. Just makes it easier for like cleaning and stuff. And there's a lot of options out there that are not expensive. You don't have to spend $3,000. You spend $350 instead on a pet friendly couch. And immediately, let's say if the couch does get damaged, you have to charge someone for it. Well, you're not going after them for thousands of dollars. It's $350, maybe $400. And so it's a lot more reasonable if you're in like a conundrum where they did mess up your furniture. It's not, crazy expensive.
Oh, you mean Mark?
Yeah, I think we may have skipped over this question. It says, is midterm only good in urban areas?
Absolutely not. It's great in many places. One of our most popular rentals is in a fairly rural part of New Jersey that has a fenced-in yard, and there's not a lot of other midterm rentals available in that area. So that one is constantly booked, always in demand for families, people with pets. When we took that one on, we actually had no idea what it was going to be like, because there were no other listings in that area. So sometimes being that one listing in what looks like a low demand area is going to end up being a huge boom for you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely want to follow up with that, because I was thinking. So, are you saying that usually single family houses rent better in the midterm rental, or would you say it just varies, especially being pet friendly?
This is it's a duplex, 2-family house, and one unit is the midterm rental,
Wow.
and it does phenomenally well.
I think it all comes down to like supply and demand again. And I guess, of course, like the amenities that you can provide. But yeah, like there's not a lot of people that are doing midterm rentals in less urban spaces in general. So we have plenty of friends that have midterm rentals that are not necessarily in the middle of nowhere. We do have people that, that are doing it in like middle of nowhere, Iowa, population 1,000 people, whatever. But there's a hospital, so all the constant travel nurses and medical professionals or construction workers. So it can literally work anywhere. And especially if you have the right, provide the right amenities, pets, parking, laundry, you just end up setting yourself up for success. So it can work in urban, but also non-urban areas. Like absolutely.
That's really cool.
So we got Joe Farrell stopping by from Strive for 25. So go check him out. He has a super good podcast. A new series coming out too. I forgot what it's exactly called, but it's like 100 stories of people earning extra income or like side hustles. So go check it out. But I wish she was here. I didn't see her in the comments yet. Nikki was here during our live the other day, and she did have a question about midterm rentals. She was asking, like, does it work well for, I don't know if she meant like a room, like a 1 bedroom unit, or like a room, like let's say, like you're saying, you have a house that has 4 bedrooms. Can you rent out one room?
Absolutely. And there's plenty of people that'll do that. And I would say if you're doing that even on Furnish Finder, you'll get a lot of leads that way too. People need housing. And one of the things that's always constantly surprised us is the type of people that would want to come, what they would pay, what they're okay with. We all have our own like preconceived notions of what we would want for ourselves. So we kind of think there's no way someone would want to share a bedroom. I mean, not share a bedroom, but although there is that too, um, there's no way that they want to have this shared space, share a bathroom with someone, and get their own bedroom. But if we go back to Airbnbs, if you go to a bed and breakfast, that's like what you're doing too, right? And so there's a lot of people that don't really care. I know for me, I don't care if I'm traveling. I would actually be open to just renting a room. I don't care if there's a shared bathroom, super duper low maintenance. I care more about saving costs and for a particular reason. So we actually do have, we definitely have friends that also do rent by the room in like a 3, 4, 5 bedroom house, and it works out for them. And you're able to collect more money. You're not always able to get all the rooms rented and occupied 100% all the time because you're going to have more turnover, right? But there's plenty of people that are looking for just the rooms only, and it could be like a very successful thing too. It's very viable.
Interesting. So, does Jersey have any limits for long-term rentals? I say rent by the room because in Virginia, it's 4 non-family members can live together. Would midterm kind of almost skirt that in a way? It's like, because it's midterm, you're not really doing a long-term stay.
I'm probably going to say more likely than not. I don't want to give any type of advice that
Right.
may, jeopardize someone's, legal standing, because sometimes it's not just like the state has different laws. Sometimes each town has their own regulations as well.
Right.
So, um, I would say more often than not, you're going to be okay. And typically, it's just going to be one person living in that one room too. So if you have a legal bedroom, and sometimes, at least in Jersey, depending on the square footage, you can have one or two people per bedroom, depending on the square footage, and it can even be broken down further that way. Um, and typically, because you're only going to have max 1 to 2 people in one bedroom, whatever those laws are, you're most likely going to be fine too. But it also just depends.
That's wild. Thanks.
And we do not do rent by the room.
Personally,
Yeah.
Okay, so before Troy leaves, I just want to put his question. He said he's going to be starting up a co-hosting business. He has lots of questions. Is it possible to reach out to you directly? So, Troy, I put their Instagram links in the chat. So if you want to touch on that, but if you guys have a better way to contact you, let me
That's
know.
fine.
Or yeah,
Instagram's
okay.
great.
Okay, cool. He does have another question here though. Let's see. Troy says, from past live episodes, you guys arbitrage apartment spaces. We have a lot of contract workers coming to my surrounding area to work. How do you work with property managers to set up lease and them? Set up lease and them.
For arbitrages, we actually went to the owner of an apartment complex. It was 29 unit apartment complex. Um, the the owner's grandparents actually built the place in the 60s or something. So we started off renting one apartment from them, and they didn't really understand what we were doing. They decided to give us a try, and now we have 4 units coming up on 5 with them. Basically, the places we went to that had property management companies didn't want to talk to us. So we found it much easier to go to places that were self-managed, and your mileage may vary.
I'm gonna also say that when some pro tips as far as like trying to look for arbitrages, one method that I found that works for us. Actually, I'll tell you some of the things that didn't work for us that I think a lot of people kind of try. Number one, they come up with a script, and they'll go on Zillow and just copy and paste the script, whoever it is, whoever you're reaching out to, and it just comes off as like kind of scammy. If you're a landlord and someone sends you like this script that's like, yeah, it seems really nice, you're not used to that, right? So that doesn't exactly work. One of the strategies that work for us is, like Frank said, you want to go to like the mom and pop landlords who are listing, let's say on Zillow, and it'll say they're the property owner versus the real estate agent or versus the property management company, right? I have my own Zillow account, and it has all my information there. It's linked with my income and my background check, so it has my credit score. If I see a listing that I like, I'll actually look at their listing and see what's missing. Usually, mom and pop landlords, their Zillow listing description is missing something. Who pays for electricity or the gas? What's the parking situation? What's the laundry situation? There's something that's missing. So I'll message them and ask them about that one missing piece. Then, when they see my inquiry, they'll also see what my income and background credit score is. So they'll be like, oh, this person who seems like a good candidate just messaged me. Let me message them back. So they'll get back to me and they'll answer the question. And then I'll say, oh, this is amazing. I would love to hop on a phone call with you because I'm very interested in this apartment. If we could either meet in person or hop on a phone call, I would love to do that. And I'm already a candidate in their eyes that seems like they would be a good fit for them as a tenant. And as our business, when you arbitrage, we are actually the tenant, right? So we do that, and then we get on a phone call, and that's when you can go through your script or whatever it is, but make it seem very natural. And so for us, we have our own personal rental properties or commercial, and so we have a lot of experience as landlords, and that's where we tap into them, saying we understand, like we have properties ourselves too with long-term tenants, and we understand the headaches that come with managing bad tenants, them destroying your newly renovated apartment, not taking care of it as their own, paying rent late, and just causing a lot of ruckus and issues, right? With us, rent is on auto pay on the 21st. If you got paid rent on time, something went majorly wrong because we set it on auto pay, right? And we need the apartments to be deep cleaned every single time. Even if there are pets, it's in our best interest to make sure everything is in perfect condition every single time, because that will negatively impact our own business. But also, we do a lot of renovating ourselves. We're very handy. So there's a lot of things that we can kind of take care of because we have all these skills that we have. And then being able to tell them also, we're not having any partiers that come by. These are medical professionals, people who have high executives, contract workers, corporate professionals, and you focus on the actual client, the actual tenants that will come, and it helps them to be relieved of, oh, how do I know they're not going to come and party, you know? And being able to showcase that and explain all of that on the phone or in person, and you'll see how they respond, and you kind of have that back and forth based on how they're responding. That's how you get these arbitrages. And it seems it's a lot more organic, it's a lot more natural, and you come with them with value. Here's the value that I can provide for you. Your place is going to be taken care of. The best type of tenants, whether it's midterm, long-term, short-term, are the best type of people are going to be living in your units, and we're also going to be managing all of them, and it's in our best interest, you know, and it ends up being like a good deal for them.
Before we move on, before Joel gets mad at me, the correct name for his series coming up is 100 Stories of Increasing Income. So yes, go check it out. I mean, I don't know how many. I think he's up to like 50 stories so far, so he's not completely done. But Janitor on Fire has a great question also. He says, do you use a good travel rewards business credit card such as the Chase Inc. Business Preferred? Lots of points available for all of your major purchases like furniture.
Yeah, the key is start with the 0% card first of all, because when you're buying furniture, like there's another question about how much we pay to furnish a unit. Typically, our costs are $6,000 to $8,000 for a one bed, and then another $2,000 to $3,000 per additional bedroom. So having a 0% credit card with 18 months or something of 0% is really key for cash flow. And Chase Inc., I think that was our second card. So that's our current 0% card right now.
I think also when it comes to like all the business credit card type of stuff, being a single member LLC or like a sole proprietor versus a multi-member LLC, because it's in Stellar Housing Solutions, it's Frank, it's Dennis, and it's also me too. So we're a multi-member LLC. And that's like a huge distinction that people don't realize, where if you're a single member or a sole proprietor, they do it based off of your own personal credit scores, and you'll easily get high limits. If your credit score is good and your credit profile is good, you'll get high limits. You get the 0% APR credit cards, no issues there. And then multi-member, you're treated more as like a legit business. And so if you just created a multi-member LLC, do you have business history? No, you don't. Do you have business credit? No, you don't. So they will look at your personal. However, it's way harder for banks to approve you for these 0% APR credit cards that'll be high enough like limit too. So what we had to do is we had to kind of go with like the smaller banks initially, and deal with some of the things you have to when it comes to small banks. Like they're not integrated with accounting software. They don't have Zelle or all these other things. It's a little bit more of like a headache, but it could also still be done. But yeah, you want to use the credit cards, rack up the points, defer the debt, and just transfer the balance if you have to.
And we got Casey stopping in. So good morning. She says, how can we set up the auto payment?
We use Melio payments to pay all our rents.
Mm-hmm.
So we go in there, set it up once. It's like for the lease, it's 12 payments, 12 monthly payments. We choose the date it's going to get paid on, and then sit back and it just does it. And I have a little notification on my calendar to make sure that we have enough money in that checking account at that time because we have multiple checking accounts, of course, and we'll make sure there's enough money there to cover everything, and then we're good.
Multiple checking accounts.
Wow.
What do you guys use for your business banking?
We actually we still have that small local bank that we started with. We have Chase and we have BASELANE. BASELANE is an online banking platform that is especially good for our co-hosted units because we have one account for each co-hosted apartment, and all the funds, all the rents go into that BASELANE account, and all the payments go out of BASELANE for like the payments to the owner, the payments to pay the cleaners. So everything is locked in to one account for that unit, all the expenses and all the payments. So yeah, we have multiples of everything. We also have a BASELANE account that all security deposits go into. We use BASELANE and Remitly to pay our VA in the Philippines.
Yeah, I love BASELANE. I use BASELANE also. Do you guys use it like Jaina does also too, like individual credit cards per property to kind of keep bookkeeping easy?
The only thing we do we have a debit card for the VA account because Remitly wants to pay from debit card to debit card. And I clearly did not want to use Remitly with our real bank's debit card that has access to all our funds. So I created a BASELANE account that I just put a few $100s in each time. The virtual debit card is tied to that account, and then that account goes into Remitly to pay the VA.
Okay, and we got Josh here. He said, I had success renting my LTR as a midterm rental to an insurance company. Got premium rents for 6 to 9 month term. It's just tough to be consistent, he said.
Yeah, for insurance placement, your space has to be vacant. So for us, we're always booked, so we're not really in a place where we can take an insurance placement because people don't know 3 months in advance that their house is going to burn down.
Yeah,
but
That's
the people
fair.
that if you have
I hope not.
exactly, if you have multiple properties though, and you can afford to keep something vacant, especially if it's a single family house with a yard, those are the kinds of places that insurance companies really like.
I guess Casey's question about the auto payment. I meant rental income auto payment from tenant.
So that
Yeah,
collecting rents, you mean?
I'm assuming so.
More
Yeah.
likely, yeah.
We use Anago for our property management, and it's up to the tenant to put that on auto pay. I mean, it's how they have to pay the rent through Anago no matter what. And Anago will automatically charge late fees if they don't pay on time. So it behooves them to put it on auto pay. But we don't force the tenant to put it on auto pay.
Okay. And then I guess, will tenant be feeling not so comfortable about it?
Well, we don't force our tenants to pay us through their rent on auto pay to us. What I was referring to is we are paying when we're arbitraging. We are paying the property owner or the landlord. We are paying them on auto pay, rather the subleased tenant who's staying in there. So we are the tenants. Our midterm rental guests are the subleased tenants. But as far as auto pay, we're going to pay our landlord on auto pay on the 21st of every month.
And then Troy says he uses Relay, very similar to BaseLane. They're great for investors. Yeah, I think Relay is kind of in the sub 2 pace Morby. That's kind of what they always talk about or they recommend. But yeah, I use BaseLane, so that's kind of why I talk about it quite a bit. But BaseLane's awesome also. So Casey said yes. Yeah.
We actually talked to the Relay people and the BaseLane people when we first went to BPCon.
Oh.
And
Wow.
the BaseLane, we like the BaseLane people better because we were actually talking to the top guys there. And we felt like we had a good connection. And BASELANE has just worked phenomenally for us.
Yeah, I think it's super good, super easy to use. I like a lot of stuff that's coming down the pipeline for them. But yeah, I'm sure Relay's great also. So there's a lot of good products out there. You just got to find what's comfortable and easy for you to use. Yeah, this was a great live. I mean, is there other stuff you guys want to dig into? Any other questions for you, Harrison, or do you guys have other stuff you want to talk about?
Yeah. So thinking about all this, now that you have quite a few properties under your belt now, has it been easier talking to owners and other landlords to kind of get these agreements going now?
Talk about our community, James.
Yeah, so let me know if my internet is not good, by the way, because it seems like I'm kind of cutting in and out. Um, but we don't do any sales on our end. We don't seek out arbitrages or try to co-host. Um, they all come to us. Besides our very first arbitrage, we've never had to try to convince anybody. One of the things that we've done is when we first got into real estate a couple of years ago, we would go to real estate meetups and connect with other people who were one or two steps ahead of us or even behind us. We would build these relationships and go through a journey with them. Let's go tour houses, tour properties together. Let's go to inspections. Let's renovate together. We would use the same contractors, share experiences, mentor each other. So now we've built our own community in New Jersey, and we would coach them essentially to buy a property, go through the entire process, and we tell them, hey, we do midterm rentals. It's great. And they also will help us furnish our midterm rentals too. And so they'll say, yeah, I want to do midterm rentals. I don't want to manage it though. You manage it for us. Great. We can be your co-host, right? Or we will arbitrage you. And so we've been able to organically create this community, which we've been doing a lot of giving. And because of that, we receive 10 times because now they're just giving us opportunities, or they're telling somebody else about us, word of mouth. And it's been really great to be able to like get to that stage. Um, but yeah, I mean, at some point, one of our goals is to get our entire network together, get a little bit more organized, and go for these bigger contracts and saying, hey, we have 20, 30, 40 midterm rentals that are under our brand or under our umbrella. Hey, Toyota, hey, Amazon, Tesla, whatever. Do we could be like a preferred housing vendor for you or whatever hospital, sign a multi-year contract or something and just have them put their people in. And that's kind of like our next level goal of going in that direction.
Wow.
And also some of our friends started their own MTRs, like with our guidance, and that's great because the MTR space is not competitive like the STR space. Like if we're booked, we're not anybody's competitor. If you're booked, you're not our competitor. So if we're booked and we get a lead in, we want to find housing for that person. Like that's our goal. Like somebody comes to us, we want to get them housing even if we can't provide it. So if we have friends that have a space that works, we're going to direct that person to our friend, and they direct the people to us. So it's very community oriented. Even this, like we have a whole group of MTR operators in New Jersey that we work with.
That's amazing.
Like in the STR space,
I think the biggest,
because you're always trying to get, like, you always have like three-day stays and things. You're constantly trying to get a guest, so you're always competing with everybody else. But here, like, we get a guest for 3 or 4 months, and that unit's booked, so it's not competition anymore.
yeah, it's all collaboration and just sharing knowledge and trying to get other people to succeed and do better. Because that also means when we have leads and we send them over to our friends, we know that they are hospitable, they're furnished well, they run a good business, and it makes us also look good too. But yeah, midterm rentals, it's all about collaboration. Short term, it's all about competition. So it's just like a very different space to be in. It's really cool.
That's really cool.
Cool. So I got about 10 more minutes. So we got a few more questions. Troy, says, so do you reapply for a new zero down credit card when the zero down period expires?
Yes,
Simple answer. I like
Nice.
that.
absolutely.
Let's see. And
One
Esther,
one
hey,
hack, one hack
okay.
is before your 0% APR finishes, you can call the bank and ask them if you can get an extension on the 0% APR period. It doesn't always work. You could always ask. If they say yes, great. If they say no, all right, that's kind of what you expect. And you would open up a new 0% APR credit card and do a balance transfer. When you're getting these business credit cards, you can't always balance transfer. It's not always an option. So before you apply for those business credit cards, make sure that's an option. Either double check online or call like the banking rep to just confirm, because sometimes it just won't even, if you can do a balance transfer, it'll say it. If you can't, it won't mention it at all. So you kind of like don't really know. So that's kind of like an important key. Just don't open up any type of random card. You have to make sure you can balance transfer it.
Great advice.
That's great.
Esther, morning. Thanks for stopping by. Do you use long-term rental home insurance for midterm rentals?
No, so well, it depends. You're gonna have to get landlord insurance. So typically, if you live in the house, you're getting homeowners insurance. If you have tenants in there, you're gonna be getting landlord insurance. If you have any type of rental property, that's the type of insurance you have already. And there are several other insurance carriers that will add additional protections or insurance for these shorter stays. Um, Depending on which route you go, some companies are really expensive, some companies are a little bit more reasonable. But yeah, it's you'd get a little bit more extra insurance to cover yourself.
And it's whether if you own the property, it's different insurance than if you're arbitraging and if you're co-hosting. So it's different insurances for everything.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's great.
Yeah.
I guess I have one more question. This is kind of out there. I've been reading about how some hosts partner with certain providers for amenities and everything. Have you ever considered like working with Turo or other groups out there that provide, say, cars for rent or for those rentals or anything like that?
Thought about it, yes. Done it, no.
Gotcha.
And we haven't even actually partnered with local restaurants, which we should. Like there's a lot of things
that's great.
that are on our list of things to do that we haven't gotten to yet. But in
Yeah,
all our units, we'll have something on the fridge that lists some of the local restaurants that we know for a fact are good. But we haven't actually approached any of those restaurants to see if we can get gift cards or anything for the welcome basket. And those are things that we should do. We just haven't gotten around to it.
Oh yeah, I mean, because I was even thinking like with doctors or something like that, especially needing food delivered for Instacart or something like that as well. I think that's a great idea. So
Right now, everyone wants to pop in when I gotta go soon. But okay, let's see. We got a few more questions then. Let me see. There's a couple more here. Esther says, if the owner lives in the home, can home insurance be okay?
First thing I would do is ask your insurance broker and be completely honest about what you're doing. Because if you're not honest and you have a loss and they find a reason to decline coverage, they will decline coverage. So for sure, tell them everything you're doing and find out if that's the right coverage for you.
Okay. Home sharing option? Not sure what
maybe if you're still living there, but also do a midterm rental. Say, I know you're not doing by the room, but say if you have an ADU in the back or a converted garage, have you thought about doing that?
We don't have that option in any of our properties. But if you have an ADU or something, that's great.
Yeah.
That's an ideal situation.
Yeah.
I think the home sharing option that he's talking about is like an actual insurance type of coverage that you can get, like supplemental with your homeowner's insurance. I think, because I remember when we were speaking to like our insurance broker, he kind of mentioned something like that. But it seems like that is not exactly what we needed. I think maybe if you are living and you're renting a room in your own property that you live in, it could be the home sharing option could actually be what you're looking for. But yeah, I think that's what that question was referring to.
Right.
Okay, so final one from Esther. Extra insurance coverage needed.
Most likely, yes. You'll need some kind of different insurance.
All right. So yeah, I put you guys links in there. So hopefully people reach out to you if they have more questions. I guess my final one though is what groups that you guys are a part of that maybe if someone wanted to know more about, midterm rentals or how to get into this space, is there any groups you guys recommend to be a part of?
There's a lot. If you're in the Facebook space, which you should be if you're in real estate, number one, there are, if you just search midterm rentals in Facebook groups, one of the top ones you'll find is midterm rentals by Jesse Vasquez. You'll see Vivian Yip, like a whole bunch of others. I think the Jesse Vasquez one is often the most helpful, absolutely. But they all are really helpful. As far as podcasting goes, our friends Grace and Amelia, they have their own podcast called Women Invest in Real Estate, also known as WIIRE, Wire. They have the most episodes on midterm rentals. And if you kind of just search through all of their episodes, you can find the ones that say midterm rentals. We're also going to start contributing to one of our good friends who started a school community group where he's doing Q&As and uploading a lot of really good in-depth, long format content on how he manages his 25 plus midterm rentals that we're going to be contributing to as well. That's free for now. Those types of groups are always really good to learn from people who are doing midterm rentals, not just who have one or two properties, but those who are doing it at scale. And if just the search function alone will, in all these different places, you'll get a lot of great results, and a lot of the questions have been answered multiple times. And then there's of course different coaching programs and consulting and all this stuff that's out there too. It's not too hard to find these days, people who provide those type of services, but they're out there. You could also just message us and we could just tell you where to go to.
Yep. So go click on their links, go see the interview from a few weeks ago and go follow them and, reach out to them. They're willing to answer all your questions and we'll get them back on because it seems like this is a very popular topic and people have a lot of questions. So we'll do this again. And thanks for doing this. And